Hey there guys, today on Tasting Tinctures we have something really special. So this is a independently bottled whiskey from our friends at Malt, and Cain. So they are a Singapore-based independent bottler of whiskeys and rums. This particular one right here is a 14-year-old Williamson sherry cask at 62.4%. So this is a big whiskey. For those of you in the know, Williamson is not the name of a distillery. It's actually a open secret code name given to represent Laphroaig Distillery. So this is a Laphroaig. Some distilleries don't feel comfortable putting their names out on independently bottled labels, so they'll either release their whiskey under a different name, or they might teaspoon their whiskey, which means if it's a single malt, they'll take just a little bit of whiskey from another distillery to technically make it a blend, and then release it under a different name. It's an open secret. You can find lists of names out on the internet, but Williamson is quite famously Laphroaig. Sorry, quite famously Laphroaig. It's actually named after one of the female master blenders or master distillers, if I'm not wrong. But anyway, so this is a 14-year-old Laphroaig, bottled at 62.4%. It spent most of its life in a refill sherry butt, which means it's a 500-liter cask that it was originally made for sherry, but has had whiskey in it before. So that's what refill means in the Scotch whiskey industry. And the last 14 months of its life, it was sat in a cream sherry barrel. So a cream sherry is a sweet style of sherry that's made by blending something very sweet, like a PX, Pedro Jimenez, or Moscatel, with something drier, like an Amontillado or an Oloroso. So yeah, this should be a big sherry bomb, all those dark, sweet, fruity notes, and the classic Isla profile from Laphroaig. So let's give it a smell. Definitely big. There's a lot of flavor in this glass. Interestingly enough, the ethanol doesn't leap out of the glass first up. I'm mainly getting that sort of smoke, and not so much of the iodine as I would have expected from Laphroaig. I think the age has sort of tamed that down a little bit, but the earthiness, the smoke, and that sweetness of the sherry. I just actually got a note of Cadbury's fruit and nut. So like dairy milk chocolate, dried fruit, and almonds, hazelnuts. Full disclosure, this is not the first time I'm tasting this whiskey. This is a revisit. But it's always important to go back to spirits that even you're very familiar with, because time of day, different mindset, how you're feeling will affect how you perceive and what you taste in a whiskey or a spirit. So let's go in for a taste. Whoa, that is a lot of whiskey in that glass. It's absolutely beautiful though. Now, I enjoy higher proof spirits. I enjoy peated whiskey. So for many people, this might not be their cup of tea. It might be way too much, but for me, I think this is a really nice balance of that classic distillery character from Laphroaig. Again, that peat, iodine, salt, seaweed, smoke, and the richness from the sherry. It really helps balance out some of the more acrid bitter notes. There's still a little bit of like woody bitterness towards the end, which I think is a really nice touch because it stops it from being cloying. Yeah, the alcohol is definitely very present, and it's hard to hide at 62%. But it's not grabbing me. It's not the one thing that I'm really left feeling or tasting after I take a sip. Yeah, as it opens up those dried fruits from the sherry, dark dried fruits, raisins, prunes, a little bit of that bitter cacao still living in there. A light touch of like caramelized honey, maybe. Yeah, this is a whiskey that you want to sit with because it will definitely evolve, definitely change. It's got so many secrets to unlock. So adding a bit of water, even having it on a block of ice, it can definitely take that chill and that dilution from being sat on ice. Yeah, this is not an everyday whiskey. This is one to pull out, I think, at the end of a nice meal. It could go well with like a soft cheese, like a triple cream, like a Brillat Savarin or something like that. A little bit of fresh fruit as well. But yeah, I mean, in cocktails, I don't believe that there's anything off limits when it comes to cocktails. So in this case, I would go something pretty straightforward and stirred down, something like a William Wallace or a Rob Roy. But honestly, there's so much flavor in here that I don't think there's much else that can compete with it, except maybe, just maybe, a pina colada. It would be really fun in a pina colada because it's big, bold, boozy, smoky, and you get that nice sweetness from the sherry. Not to say that it's impossible, but it'll probably be a while before I consider putting this in a pina colada. But no, this is, yeah, really, really cool bottling. Independent bottlings are, they're a little bit of a mixed bag sometimes, because one of the cool things about independent bottlings is they often represent a whiskey that is not typical of the distillery or the character that people associate with that distillery. This, I think, is not a million miles away from Laphroaig. It's not super similar to a lot of Laphroaigs that I've tasted, but it definitely has that Islay core to it. And it's balanced beautifully with the sherry management. It's not too sweet. It's got great texture. Yeah. The one thing I want to pair this with is a fire and a leather chair. And just sit for a few hours and sip this slowly. Yeah. Delicious stuff. This bottle is now available for tasting at Tincture House on Bukit, Pasoh. So if you're in the area, please come down and give this one a try. See you later, guys.